16 days out of entire season. That is the amount of free days the best team is going to have in 2025. In today's video, we are going to take a deep dive into the schedule of a professional player. I'll be pulling back the curtain on my own schedule from the past year, revealing all the details and discussing the future of CS2. This isn't about complaining, we're living our dream playing video games. However, I want to give you an insider's look at the relentless pace and the fine line we walk between the performance and potential burnout. Firstly, I'd like to talk about Apeks, the team that I was representing for past year. I looked back at our calendar and out of curiosity wanted to see how busy we were, and that is honestly where the idea for this video sparked. For reference, I will talk about the period of 1st of May 2023 until 30th of April 2024. I'm dividing year into 6 buckets: practice day, match day, media day, travel day, day off, and player break. Player break is a period during summer and winter where we get to unplug and no tournaments nor practice is happening, and it is usually 4 weeks long, unless teams deliberately cut it short in order to start the season with extra practice, which we did in winter. Later I will also show you a percentage of how much we were away on the road in 3 buckets labeled as bootcamp, LAN tournaments, and home. We had 103 practice days in last 12 months. Far from optimal, but this is what we had to work with. For reference, there are never enough practice days. The more you can push this number up, the higher rates of improvement will you see within your team. We also had 101 match days, and that is nuts. On average, almost every third day was a day where we had to perform in an HLTV featured game or an open qualifier, which is bloodbath. On some days we had to play multiple official games in a row. This is absolutely crazy expectation to perform at this rate, but we will come back to this later in the video. For media days, this is a bit more relaxed. We have had only 14 of them this year, if I counted correctly, and most of them are pretty easy to complete. At the events, you don't usually waste more than an hour or 2 on media day when you do pictures, videos, and a few interviews for content. That is why sometimes we even squeeze a couple of hours of individual and team practice if we can. Next one are travel days. These are easy to remember for me personally, as I live fairly away from the airport, so it takes extra hours for me to complete these travel days, but we have had 38 of them in last year. Days off are days when we have no obligation around the team or the game. We get to do what we want and preferably spend time away from PC, the screens, and outside. These are extremely rare compared to the efforts we are putting in, so I value each and every single one of it. I counted we had 65 days off in our calendar. For player break, our summer break lasted 27 days, but our winter break was cut short down to just 17 days due to me coming back into the roster from bench, and we wanted to start a bit earlier with a bootcamp to prepare for first CS2 major qualifier, which we successfully won, and you can find in-depth commentary how we did that in this video on the screen. In total, breaks were 44 days long combined. So this is how the whole pie chart looks, and I definitely didn't expect as many match days as we had practice days, so I'm actually glad I took a look at the data here. But if there is something that surprised you, let me know in the comments. I'm actually curious what you think. Another thing I want to touch upon is how often are we actually home? Because it is true that we traveled around the world for competition, but we also played hefty amounts of tournaments online from home or from bootcamp. So let's check out the data here. We spent 79 days at the bootcamp facilities, which for us was in Oslo, Norway, where our club is based. Coincidentally, another 79 days were spent on the road at LAN tournaments. We participated at 13 different LANs, so on average one lasted just about 6 days, including travel and media. On top of that, we played around 25 online tournaments or qualifiers, which we played from bootcamp or from home. During the season, we were home 163 days, so about exact half of the year. And if you pay attention and try to add things up and it doesn't, remember I don't count player breaks periods into these 3 buckets. Every player spends them differently. Some like to travel for vacation and some like to stay home and relax with friends and family, so to each their own. The fact is, Tier 2 and Tier 3 teams have it the worst at the moment. When you look below top 15 on HLTV rankings, you will see a never-ending marathon of extremely motivated teams that constantly fight for ranking through online tournaments. Why? It's simple. A good performance in an online tournament grants them points in the HLTV ranking system. More points equals higher rank. That is precisely why none of these teams can take a break. They know that if they skip even one tournament, they will get overtaken very quickly. And recovering from that is even harder than keeping pace. If a team reaches high enough rank, they have a chance of getting invited to an elite event, which can grant them much more points, securing them a spot in the top rankings for a long time. Compared to the best teams, Tier 2 teams travel roughly the amount of the best teams in the world, yet when you come home, you will still have to play qualifiers for upcoming events or other tournaments to keep climbing ranks. This is exactly the luxury that the best teams in the world like FaZe, Vitality, Navi or G2 have. If they are not at an event, they can fully focus either on practice or to rest. This is the main topic we are leading up to. The best teams and best tournaments partnered up and they get to skip this step to some extent. They are guaranteed points through invites to elite tournaments. So even if a dark horse team starts catching up in the rankings, partner teams get boosted by an invite once again. So I understand this might sound bold because we see players like NiKo, Apeks or Rops on stream, on stage, of an event almost every other weekend. But if you follow them on social media, you know that they also get to go on vacation between tournaments and in the middle of the season. Well, I'm actually not sure about Rops, but definitely NiKo and Apeks do. So I assume those teams, they put heavy emphasis on the rest between tournaments to make sure their players get into their comfort zones and avoid burnout. Again, this is luxury only few get to experience. Popular tournament organizers partner up with popular clubs to always make sure their events are filled with the best teams that drive biggest audience. This creates a snowball effect where you will receive invitation to an event, gain ranking points and get invited to the next event because, well, you have accumulated needed points. It seems flawed, but moving forward things will change as partnered tournaments by ESL or Blast are coming to an end at the end of this year. Now, we're in a position where we don't exactly know how the future will look. Only one thing is for sure, the scene will become oversaturated with tournaments and competition to qualify there will increase. No one will be invited because of their name anymore. You will have to perform and grind ranking points to be considered on the invite list. If you don't, open qualifier is the only option to get in. And as we said earlier in the video, those are bloodbath, full of upsets and favorites rarely go through. We're still waiting on more details for next year by biggest tournament organizers such as ESL, Blast or PGL, but wait, another big name is actually coming back as StarLadder announced they want to organize tournaments again. So if 2023 and 2024 was packed with tournaments where only 3 huge organizers were present, imagine how 4 of them would do. Actually, you don't need to imagine anything. I got the answers for you. This is completely crazy, so for reference, if you're the best team in the world in 2025 and you will get invited to all the events in the first half of the year, you would have exactly 16 days where you wouldn't be at the tournament. 16 days! And now imagine full schedule with travel days, media days, qualifier days, and I'm still missing the biggest buckets from the start of the video, practice days and days off. And we are still in territory of only LAN tournaments. It doesn't take a genius to see this is not sustainable and something will have to change. $1 million question. What will change and what should happen to improve this? This is purely my opinion as a player. I'm not looking at this from business perspective of an organization, so my view is definitely biased and I say it out loud to spark the discussion either here under the video or on social media. The most obvious answer would be to just skip some events. Do not accept every invite you get. Plan your season accordingly to make sure players have enough time for practice and rest. This is easy for me to say and harder to do. There is always a risk that event that you are skipping might have been the one you win and psychological factors come into play like FOMO. Another way to improve this is making players more professional. Giving us tools to take care of ourselves more will give us bigger buffer before we feel burnt out. Make sure your players are eating well, they're fit, sleeping schedule is intact, and you try to squeeze water out of stones, so to speak, when it comes to optimization of lifestyle. This reminds me drivers from Formula 1 who have to perform pretty much every other week for duration of the whole season with insane amounts of travel around the world. And it's not only them, they bring whole team crew which need to be on point all the time. I think the best would be to combine both of my proposals to decline some of the events, invites to an event so to speak, and make players more professional and adjust their lifestyle to make packed seasons like we're about to witness in 2025 more feasible. So I'm curious to hear what you think about having a top tournament running pretty much all the time. For me, I lose interest if I see same teams playing each other for fifth time in a few weeks and the games become less meaningful. On the other hand, I love the idea that the circuit will be more open and we will see lesser known teams get to play against the best. But that might be just me, so let me know if you are excited for the future or you think it needs some tweaking. Also, if you like the video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. It helps me grow the channel. See you in the next one. Bye bye.